Добрый день, уважаемые участники. Мы рады приветствовать вас на региональном семинаре для стран Восточного партнерства ЕС и Центральной Азии, посвященному запуску инструмента для оценки ресурсоэффективности малых и средних предприятий Algo Assistant и сети iGo. Данный семинар организован совместно платформой зеленой промышленности и программой Европейский Союз для окружающей среды, которая финансируется Европейским Союзом. Меня зовут Андрей Варфоломеев, я представляю Центр ресурсоэффективного и чистого производства из Украины. До того, как мы перейдем к основной части, я хотел бы сакцентировать ваше внимание на некоторых технических моментах. Во-первых, во время проведения мероприятия обеспечивается синхронный перевод на русский и английский язык, поэтому, пожалуйста, выберите язык, на котором вам удобно будет слушать всех спикеров, нажав на значок «Глобус» в нижней правой части вашего экрана. Ваша активность на мероприятии приветствуется, и мы будем рады услышать каждого из вас, как вопросы, так и отзывы об проведении об инициативах, которых вы услышите. Но также просьба ко всем участникам: ваши микрофоны сейчас отключены, поэтому подождите нашей секции вопросов и ответов, где вы можете включить микрофон и задать ваши вопросы. В то же время прошу вас не злоупотреблять этим, и вы будете приглашены к вопросам. Вопросы, которые у вас возникают во время презентации, вы можете написать в чате, мы за чатом будем внимательно следить, и также вы можете поднять руку для оглашения вашего вопроса. Если мы будем иметь время во время презентации, после презентации, мы не зададим несколько вопросов там, но основная часть вопросов будет все же в назначенной для этого секции. Также я вас информирую, что будет вестись запись нашего семинара, и она уже ведется, для освещения результатов и для использования потом результатов другими участниками, которые, может быть, не смогли присоединиться к этому семинару вовремя. Ну и теперь мы можем перейти к основной части. Для вступительного слова я бы хотел пригласить Ханнеса Макналти, менеджера платформы зеленой промышленности. Ханнес, пожалуйста.
Thank you very much, Andre. And as you can see, I've just shared my screen because I'll be giving an introduction to the iGo initiative overall. So my name is Hannes McNulty, and I'll lead the work of the Green Industry Platform, which is co-organizing this workshop today with the EU for Environment program. So what we want to talk about, we have quite a packed agenda. We have lots of things that we want to talk about, both from the side of iGo and from EU for Environment, both to describe each project, but of course also to describe and explain how the two projects complement each other and support each other. But to begin with, let me give you an introduction to iGo. What is iGo? Well, iGo is exactly as you see here on the screen, an initiative which aims to bring tailored resource efficiency knowledge and support services to businesses, in particular SMEs. Now, let me, to begin with, give you a little bit of background behind iGo, because iGo is an initiative that is in fact brought to you by, we call it, a number of different organizations. We have here on the screen an organization or an initiative called the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership. And this Green Growth Knowledge Partnership is led by the 5 international organizations, the OECD, UNIDO, the World Bank, the UN Environment Programme, and the Global Green Growth Institute. Now, the purpose of the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership is to help promote the work of all the different organizations literally across the globe engaged in green growth related topics. For that, we have 3 platforms: the Green Finance Platform, a Green Policy Platform, and a Green Industry Platform, each one supporting organizations within that particular topic. In our case, it's industry through the Green Industry Platform, and our target audience is industry, and in particular SMEs. Now, as you can imagine, as a global initiative, we are quite distant from SMEs, and getting SMEs to come to us is virtually impossible. So we created iGo as a way to bring the work of the Green Industry Platform to SMEs. So that is the thinking behind IGO and who's supporting us. You see here at the top of the pyramid an initiative called the Green Forum, which is actually also part of what we do, but I will explain a little bit more on that later. So let me move on swiftly to, I suppose, the reason for IGO. I already explained that we want to have a way to bring the work of the Green Industry Platform to SMEs. So essentially, IGO was designed for two things. One, how to be able to connect effectively with large numbers of SMEs on the topic of resource efficiency, how to connect with SMEs and convince them, motivate them to become engaged in resource efficiency measures. And of course, that's not just enough to be able to connect with them and convince them or motivate them. We also want to then be able to support them to implement resource efficiency measures, projects according to their specific needs. So we're basically trying to do a very hard task, connect with countless numbers of different types of SMEs in many different countries around the world, and yet try to support them individually based on their specific needs. So it's quite a big challenge that we're trying to do with IGO. And what's important is about IGO is we do not create or provide solutions for SMEs. That means we don't provide technical assistance to SMEs, we don't provide financing. What we do is we look to see what's available to an SME and to connect them with available resource efficiency supports or knowledge based on their specific needs. So again, we are a support structure connecting SMEs with the work of organizations supporting SMEs. Just to clarify that particular point. Now, how does IGO actually work? How do we create this support structure that brings together the needs of SMEs and the work of all the different supporting organizations? Well, the first thing we do through IGO is we collect all the different resource efficiency knowledge and support services that are available in a given country or region for SMEs. Now, what do we mean by resource efficiency knowledge? Well, it's technical guides, it's tools, it's case studies, all relevant to SMEs, I must say. And then support services, we explain this by training, technical assistance, and financing solutions. So real practical supports that would help an SME implement a project. And this is what we collect country by country by country and put together in a database. Now, a database is great to collect all of this information, but honestly, no SME is going to come to us to look at this database. So to make use of this database of all the different resource efficiency knowledge and support services out there, we have developed a tool called the IGO Assistant. And that is what today is a lot about, is this IGO Assistant, because it's our interface with the SMEs, and it's our way of connecting an individual SME to specific resource efficiency knowledge and support services that we have collected. The IGO Assistant does two things. It does a very quick assessment of an SME. Now, very quick, it's a high-level assessment to understand an SME's resource efficiency status. And then, based on that status, ascertains which of the, let's say, knowledge products or support services in our database is most applicable to the SME. So we call this a resource efficiency self-assessment and navigation tool. We understand the needs and we navigate the SME in the right direction. And that is a very, very important key tool, which we will go into a lot more detail very soon. We will also then, in the not so distant future, be producing a new tool, which is called the Implementation Manager tool. This SME Support Center or database and the IGO Assistant are very much about awareness building, how to make sure that SMEs are aware of their opportunities and aware of what's available out there to help them achieve these opportunities. The Implementation Manager goes a step further. It's designed to help an SME implement a project, and most in particular, capture the performance of their implemented measures. So if an SME is aware of their opportunities and decides to implement a resource efficiency measure, the Implementation Manager is their way of accurately capturing the performance before and after they implement a measure so that they can go and report to a client, to a certification body, to a bank on the actual performance of their implemented project. So these are our kind of key tools that we bring together with IGO. Now, all of these tools, being honest, are a bit worthless unless we can convince an SME to use us. And we, being based here in Geneva as an international initiative, really don't have much connection to SMEs. So another very important part of the IGO initiative is the IGO network. Again, we'll have a session on this IGO network later on this morning. So I won't go into too much detail, but the principle of the IGO network is to connect with all the different organizations active in a given country that are supporting SMEs, but also those that are engaging with SMEs. That could be, for example, an organization like a UNIDO or a Cleaner Production Center or an NGO that is actively trying to help SMEs with training or resource efficiency knowledge in a country, or of course a business association that has a large network of SMEs, or a large company, whether it's national or international, that has a supply chain with SMEs. We need to work with this network to both collect all of the information here for the SME Support Center, but then also to build awareness amongst the SMEs themselves. So this IGO network is a very important aspect of how IGO works. So this is IGO in brief and how it works. Again, like I said, we'll be going into detail on the IGO Assistant and the IGO network quite soon today. Just to explain that IGO is still at a relatively early stage, we've just completed 3 regional pilots in collaboration with another initiative called Go for SDGs, where we have been testing the concept of collecting all of the resource efficiency knowledge and support services and adapting the IGO Assistant for Pacific regions and countries. As you can see here, it's been in Latin America, Africa, and also here in the Eastern Europe, Central Asia region. And we now are on our last rollout of the IGO Assistant and Network. That's today. It's our, sorry, this should actually read May 12th, not 22nd. And we're at, like I said, we have developed the concept of IGO. We have developed the foundation of IGO. We have adapted the IGO Assistant and the IGO Network for the regions. And this is the beginning of a very, very important phase where we really deploy it all out in the regions. Now, just to mention here, in relation to this region's pilot project, this was done with the assistance of the Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center here in the Ukraine. And I have to just thank Andriy personally for the amazing work they've done to get it to this stage and the help that they have provided to really get the IGO Assistant adapted for the region as well as the network. So that is all thanks to the center here in the Ukraine for this pilot. Now, there's been a number of learnings from the IGO pilots. They were pilots to actually learn. A lot of what IGO is about continuous improvement. So we don't assume we're going to get it right with our approach or tools or networks straight away. We're a continuously adapting and improving type initiative. And obviously, one of the key things that we noticed is that when we talk about IGO networks, we need to really focus on a national level, not just look at it globally or regional. If we want to bring together a strong resource efficiency database, we really need to have very good connection with SME supporting organizations in a country. So the IGO network is crucial to the work we do as the IGO initiative. Also, what's very important is it's not enough just to have training and technical guides. We also need to have service providers and qualified expert service providers that SMEs can reach out to get direct help on implementing projects. And this was something that came out of the pilot, is how to develop better directories of service providers that SMEs can reach out to. And the business case. We need a strong business case for SMEs to really want to use the IGO Assistant to be able to access all of this information, which is why, and I'll talk about this a bit later, is we have a strong focus on supply chain, working with large multinational and national supply chains to help develop the business case for the IGO Assistant. Just in the context of today, how does IGO fit in with the EU for Environment program that you will also now shortly hear about? Well, very important is IGO, like I mentioned, is a support structure. We don't provide direct technical assistance. We try to connect SMEs with the technical assistance and the solutions that are provided by programs like EU for Environment. And in fact, this connection between EU for Environment and IGO is a really good example of how you have a program that is actively working on the ground to help SMEs access the right type of RECP, like resource efficient, cleaner production solutions, but also on the policy side, and how IGO can help build awareness of this work, spread the word to other countries, other projects, and also importantly, help replicate or even upscale the outputs from these type of programs. So again, think of IGO as a support structure that helps a program like EU for Environment have a bigger impact, continue to make sure that the outputs stay alive after the lifespan of a project, but also in terms of building awareness and making sure that SMEs have the best access to the supports provided by a program like EU for Environment. So on one hand, you have implementation support. On the other hand, you have a support structure focused on replication, upscaling, and awareness building. And again, through this morning, you will hear from EU for Environment, you'll hear more about the IGO initiative, and you'll start to see the connections. And we'll have the Q&A session where we'd love to hear from you to see how this example of IGO and EU for Environment interconnects well with each other. So with that, I conclude the introduction of what IGO is and the connection between IGO and EU for Environment. And I would hand back to you, Andriy, to pass over to introduction on the IGO Assistant.
Спасибо, Ханес. Мы, я думаю, имеем уже понимание о структуре поддержки предприятий IGO и его компонентов. И давайте же разберемся, для чего нужен IGO-ассистент и какие преимущества он несет малым и средним предприятиям. Этот вопрос мы адресуем Трейси Эличкар, специалистке по вопросам зеленой промышленности из платформы зеленой промышленности. Трейси, слово вам.
Thank you, Andriy. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Tracy, and I am the Green Industry Specialist at the Green Industry Platform. So today in this session, I will introduce you to what is IGO Assistant, and then together we will walk you through the tool of IGO Assistant. First, what is IGO Assistant? Okay, I will. It is a resource efficiency self-assessment and navigation tool for SMEs. What that means, mainly it's the core component of the IGO initiative, and it is a self-assessment. It's a quick tool that will figure out what is the most needed for the SME on a general level, and will provide SMEs with the most service provider that they need. So the IGO Assistant, it's targeted for SMEs in all sectors, and also it is for server providers in the large consumer-facing companies. We are now targeting mainly SMEs in the manufacturing companies, but on a later stage, we would like to also target all kinds of SMEs in all different sectors. How does the IGO Assistant work? Before start, it should be noted that the IGO Assistant it's not a diagnostic tool. It is a very general tool that just will understand the need of the SME. The IGO Assistant is based on 3 different components. It asks very simple questions. First, on the business, the background of the business. It will ask about the sector, the country, and the size of the business. And then we'll ask questions about the strategy. It's if the company has adopted on a strategy level resource efficiency, and depending on the answer, the SMEs will receive specific questions on 5 different actions: energy, water, waste, materials, and chemical. So it's based on 3 different components. So now I will walk you through the IGO Assistant. I think my colleague has already sent you the link. of the IGO system. Okay, so if you go to the website, it's igosolution.org. Here is the first page. You can see it's first, you can read more what is IGO. You can see that you conduct a self-assessment, you receive a tailored recommendation, and then you will receive a list of support services. The tool is available in 5 different languages till now, and hopefully we'll have more languages in the future. And you can switch to Russian if you like. But for this certain session, we will do it in English. Also here, you can see the IGO network that my colleague will explain them later in the session. So you can see all the companies that, or the business support organizations that they support IGO assistant with resources. So let's go to IGO assistant. First, it's the background of your business, your location. We will consider that we are in Ukraine for today. And that the company is working in food processing, and the size of company is a medium company between 51 and 100 employees. Sorry. And also it's important here to note that there is no confidentiality. So we are not asking detailed questions. We are not asking about specific numbers in the company or on the operation. So it's very basic and the questions are very simple. And then here we go to the resource efficiency strategy. Here we would like to know if the SMEs has already implemented or resource efficiency on a strategy level. And depending on this section, the other 5 actions, so the question for the other 5 actions will be changed. So if the companies has already implemented a resource efficiency strategy, so it means that at least the company has implemented one of the actions that mentioned here. So how we design the questions? The questions are designed in the plan, do, act, check strategy. So there are 4 different questions per category. So here in resource efficiency, there are 4 questions. The first one, if the company has adopted a resource efficiency strategy, it's on the strategy level. The second one, if there is a measure. The third one, if they monitoring the measures. And the fourth question is about if they have a partnership with stakeholders and suppliers outside from their operations. So now together we will see the questions for each of these categories. First questions, for example here, has your company's top management made a formal commitment to improve resource efficiency and has it developed a resource efficiency strategy? So I will click that yes. And then the second question, as I mentioned before, if there is an in-depth assessment to identify the improvement opportunities, I will click yes. And the third question is about monitoring. In this case, also I will click yes. And here the fourth question is about if there is a continued improvement and if there is a collaboration with external stakeholders. I will click that, no. And same for the energy management. Here as well, in the energy management sector, first question, if there is an improvement in energy management, click yes. Second question mainly here is to understand what type of measurement that the company implemented. In this case, we will say that the company only implemented renewable energy. And here the question, if there is any measures to identify or there is any energy audit, I will click yes as well. And if there is an energy performance or continuous monitoring system, we will consider that here the company that they don't have a monitoring system. So as you noticed, when I click no, it will direct me directly to the next action. That means if there is no monitoring, that means that there is no involvement with the other stakeholders or outside of the operation, involvement with suppliers or stakeholders outside of the operation. Then here we will go to the water saving. We will consider that we implemented the first phase of the water saving. We have water saving and wastewater reduction as a management measure that the company implemented. And however, we in this case, the company did not made an in-depth assessment for the water management. I will click no. And then we go directly to the material efficiency. So it is the same procedure for all other actions. In the material procedure, I will click that that the company have not implemented any measures. So I will click no, and then we'll go to sustainable chemicals. The same in the sustainable chemicals, if we have implemented measures, the first questions, and here which kind of measures, only limiting unnecessary use of chemicals. And then here we did not did any in-depth assessment for sustainable chemicals, and it directly will go to the waste management. Same in the waste management, I will click that the company did not implement any measure for waste management. So as you noticed, more you have implemented measures, more the tool will ask you questions. So if you haven't implemented any measures, the tool will be so quick. And if you implemented measures, the tool will ask you further questions to understand exactly what is your need and how do you want to improve your resource efficiency in your company. So, and now you can, when I validate, you can here see the graph with your result. This is an interim graph. You can see your result, and also you can compare your result to the average score. What is the average score? Are all the users that they already use the IGO solutions. So you can compare your status to the users or the other SMEs that they have already used the IGO assistant. You can validate your result here. Once you validate your result, you will receive a list of recommendations. First, you can see very quickly your status, your level, and you can see in a one sentence the level of your company. Also, in this graph, you can compare your results to the SMEs in your same country, or in your same sector, or in your same size. So this graph will let you compare your score to the other, and it will maybe motivate you how you have to improve better, and it will motivate you how you can improve better your resource efficiency. So now you have the list of recommendation. if we click on one of the recommendation here, you will have the recommendation in details, and then you have a key steps that will support your recommendation. So here is the list of what you can do to improve. And then you have a list of support services. Here is, I will open the one for energy. For example, in this particular, this is for energy, this is the recommendation. Here is the list, the steps that support your recommendation. And here is the list of support services. As you can see, in this case, we have resources in Ukraine, and also we have a case study for the food processing. So now you have all your recommendation. What is the next step? You can download the report to keep it as a reference in your company. Also, or you can create an IGO account. Why? So as mentioned at the beginning, that we don't collect any confidential data. It's a free tool, and we don't require anyone to register. However, if you would like to receive the newest tool or support services, the financial solution, or you would like to know more or to connect with IGO Assistant, we recommend you to create an account and register. And while you create an account, you can also see your progress and your state of development during the years. So it is saved, and you can go to check and to improve your resource efficiency. So one more thing that I would like also to show you is, as you can see here, here is the energy management for the intermediate state. If we, I will show you, if we compare the result with the same company, but with a no action status, you can see that first, the recommendation is completely different. The list of support services, the key steps to implement the recommendation are also different. And the most important part, that the guidance are different. So the guidance for the beginner stage is completely different from the intermediate. And because we want to, because it's a tailored list of guidance support services for the SMEs. So if you have any questions, please you can write them in the chat, and we can answer them later. That's it from my part. Thank you so much.
Спасибо, Трейси. Мы следим за комментариями. Были вопросы о том, будем ли мы рассылать материалы, презентации и ссылки на эти инструменты. Конечно же, будем, потому что это и задача нашего семинара – ознакомить как можно больше участников с инструментом, а также обсудить возможности и преимущества его использования в следующем. И мы просмотрели, как выглядит IGO Ассистент, и, как вы видите, это помощник, практический помощник предприятию в улучшении его ресурсоэффективности. И эта актуальная тема поддерживается в нашем регионе разными инициативами. И я хотел бы пригласить к слову Татьяну Чернявскую, координаторку программы Youth for Environment, это Европейский союз для окружающей среды, из Организации Объединенных Наций по промышленному развитию, и Кшиштофа Михалака, старшего менеджера программы из Организации экономического сотрудничества и развития. чтобы они рассказали нам о поддержке ресурсоэффективности в рамках программы EU for Environment. Спикеров у нас два, я думаю, начнет Кшиштоф.
Yes, thank you very much, Andrei. I would like to welcome all the participants to this meeting, and also thanks the Green Industry Platform for this opportunity to co-organize this meeting on the self-assessment tool. My name is Krzysztof Michalak. I'm coordinating the work on environmental governance and finance in the region of Eastern Europe, Caucasus, and Central Asia at the Environment Directorate of the OECD. And also I'm involved in coordination of work under EU for Environment project, which I'll describe this in the future together with Tatiana. I would like to welcome participants from Eastern Partnership countries. I see some names of colleagues who have been working with over the years. We also welcome the participants from Central Asia countries who are not part of the EU for Environment, but both OECD and UNIDO. We have been working with colleagues from Central Asia on similar issues. So now let's just very quickly say a few words about the EU for Environment. I'll start and Tatiana will go into more depth on our work on resource efficiency and cleaner production. EU for Environment is a regional program funded by the European Union with the objectives to help Eastern Partner countries of the European Union to preserve their natural capital and increase people's environmental well-being. And here in this context, we support environmental-related actions by the governments. We demonstrate and unlock opportunities for green growth and also setting mechanisms for better management of environmental risks and impacts. EU for Environment is working with currently, it was launched with 6 countries. Now currently we work with 5 countries. Belarus participation in the EU for Environment is for the time being suspended. And then certainly now we face dramatic developments in Ukraine, and even though we are implementing some activities in Ukraine, we stand in solidarity with Ukraine and its people, and then we're looking forward to resume our activities at full scale after the after the war is over. Hopefully that will happen soon. The EU for Environment was launched in 2019, currently is scheduled to finish at the end of 2023 with the budget of 20 million euro, mostly coming from the European Union. The program involves 5 implementing partners, and those are OECD, UNEP, UNEC, UNIDO, and the World Bank that joined the EU for Environment in 2021. DG NEAR and DG Environment of the European Commission are providing guidance for the implementation of the program. This is actually, the program is very comprehensive. As you'll see in this slide, we cover many activities related to greening of the decision-making, to circular economy and growth opportunities. We're looking at issues related to environmental level playing field, biodiversity. So the program is very comprehensive, and those particular issues that we would like to talk today about are actually in the second and third block in the first row of this diagram, where UNIDO is implementing activities related to resource efficiency and cleaner production among the SMEs, and OECD is working on smart regulations for managing environmental impacts of SMEs. And then within those 2 blocks, we've implemented several activities over the last 3 years that provide a direct support to governments of those countries to create a regulatory framework for better management of environmental impacts of SMEs, and also providing a direct assistance to specific, to individual SMEs. Then if we could move to the next slide, I'll just go through Oh yes, this is a slide that shows some of the figures of our activities of a quite wide reach, both in terms of communication, engagement, and the participation of experts in our meetings. And the next slide will show some examples of work that we have been implementing from the OECD side under the activity of smart regulations of environmental management of environmental impacts of SMEs. Three examples we've been providing input to incorporating greening elements to the SME development strategies, so the overall programs that support the development of SMEs, and then we're pushing the agencies and governments in the region in Azerbaijan, Georgia, Moldova to include the green elements in their work, and we've seen actually a very interesting, very good progress being made at this level, and several of those SME development agencies refer to green potential, to the opportunities of reducing material use, reducing pollution, but also using the SMEs as a vehicle for provision of environmental goods and services to bigger enterprises, and by this providing an opportunity for growth of SMEs. We've also in our work we've developed some online self-assessment tools for greening SMEs in Azerbaijan and Moldova. In this, we've worked with the ODIHR. I see the representatives of ODIHR here participating. It was very interesting work that ODIHR has been doing in order to push the enterprises, the small and medium-sized enterprises, to take into account green elements. So this was very successful, in my opinion, program that has been implemented by ODIHR and the Moldovan government. We've also been working with the SME development agency in Azerbaijan that is increasingly picking up the green dimension of the SME work. We also work on regulatory framework for some specific sectors in Georgia, focusing on the poultry sector, on developing green binding rules for the regulations of SMEs. Also, we look at financing options for green SMEs, and we contributed also to monitoring of the implementation of the EU Small Business Act, evaluating a green dimension of the SME policy index that is being developed for the Eastern Partnership countries. And finally, we also keep the regional dimension. We keep the network of experts and government officials from the region talking about SME issues. The last meeting that we had in June 2001 brought together a wide range of experts. So those activities have been implemented by the OECD. Now I'll pass on the floor to, with the permission from our moderator, to Tatiana, who will contribute and explain the work that UNIDO has been doing over the years.
Thank you very much, Krzysztof. And I would like to say good afternoon and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to be at this meeting to represent the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, and in partnership with other consortium members of EU for Environment Action, we are implementing Result 2, Circular Economy and New Growth Opportunities, where we are focusing on promotion of resource-efficient and cleaner production among SMEs. The slide here has a summary of what exactly is done under this component to build national capacity on resource efficiency. We stress and support from institutional setting, and we also share knowledge on how exactly resource efficiency could be implemented. Here, of course, we work with experts to train them, to provide them knowledge on how exactly the resource efficiency methodology could be applied. But of course, the core business and core activities which we see under this program, we work with small and medium-sized enterprises, manufacturing enterprises, to demonstrate the methodology and to create business case of how resource efficiency can be promoted and used at the enterprises to increase their productivity and to decrease the impact on the environment. We also have different activities which are associated with working with groups of enterprises, and the range is from working with clubs, co-located enterprises in different regions of Eastern Partnership countries, where companies are meeting to discuss the use of resources in a coaching, safe and facilitated environment. We also have feasibility assessment of introducing eco-industrial parks, and we do promote development of industrial waste maps in 6 regions of the Eastern Partnership countries. The support to those activities is organized through our national partners, whom we identify through tender procedures, and the Resource Efficiency and Cleaner Production Center from Ukraine. The co-host today is also our partner in Ukraine, but I'm also happy to see that we have other national partners present at today's meeting among the participants. So how exactly we see the resource efficiency promoted? That program started in UNIDO quite long ago. There were a lot of different projects, and the methodology was evolving with practice, and we looked through thousands of enterprises. We worked with different donors, and we worked in different countries. The barriers which we identified in this process on the go were related to conceptualization and motivation for businesses to use this methodology. There were organizational barriers to introduce resource efficiency, which we were discussing with enterprises, and we were also looking at technical barriers for implementing this methodology. Of course, finance and money issues like costs and benefits from applying this methodology, even using the service which UNIDO was providing through different projects was always a question. And we tried to work with policy to improve the approach absorption through different means, not only regulatory, but also award-based. And of course, the practice shows that we should go through all those aspects, but do this differently, because otherwise resource efficiency would have been already the usual practice and usual tool applied by the enterprises. So yes, the idea was to promote like a bigger thinking, to set specific objectives, to introduce resource efficiency, to set strategies, step-by-step action plans and programs. So as a EU4 environment, we are rather promoting the program to implement resource efficiency in Eastern Partnership countries, and from there the action plan and strategy and policy level intervention could be developed and promoted using the practices which we are demonstrating through this program. The training which we focus on is providing basic or rather introductory knowledge to specific topics for trainees, experts from different sectors, mostly engineering or economics, who are dealing with industries or who would like to engage into those activities. So the training program has 12 modules and is introduced in most of the countries. Of course, I have to admit that Eastern Partnership countries, when the EU4 Environment program started, they had very different levels of knowledge and engagement into RCP. UNIDO worked in the region, in the individual countries already for more than 10 years. So for example, in Ukraine, we didn't have to have the training as such introduced, and whereas in Azerbaijan or in Moldova, we are going through the training program for experts nowadays. We also have specialized or like advanced training modules promoted through EU4 Environment. We focus on a demand-driven approach where countries identify or we identify with experts which would be the interesting modules to learn more about, and examples of such trainings could be the training on footwear and textiles or apparel industries and resource efficiency in those which was conducted in Ukraine. We can also speak about environmental management system training, which was organized at the regional level. So capacity building and touching upon all the richness of knowledge which supports use of resource efficiency methodology is what we are promoting through this element. And at the basic or introductory training, we go through the 8 particular approaches where we look not only at good housekeeping, which could be introduced at enterprises with low-hanging fruits, with low-cost measures to be applied or implemented by the enterprises. We're also promoting interchange with other enterprises, and we look at technology change among others. The measurement is very important for us to measure what exactly is done, to have the baseline, and to go from this baseline to a result. This is what we do using RECP indicators. You see here we have 6 of them as basic indicators related to energy use, consumption of water, effluents and air emissions, waste and material input. So those indicators are used by our trainee experts when they are going to the enterprises to assess the enterprises using this methodology. How can we go about and speak about the results if we do not really demonstrate what we're speaking about? Here is one of the examples. This is a Teleti poultry factory from Georgia. If we have experts here who were the authors of this, they could, of course, confirm the calculated investment for this factory as a result of RECP assessment was 40,000, but the financial savings resulting from implementing specific waste-related measures are obviously very high, because those are savings per year, and we can see also that environmental savings in terms of CO2 emissions on the yearly basis and waste are very, very high. The proposed measures include the recuperation of heat and replacing of lighting system. Of course, the costs for those are different, but the results and payback periods show that those are the measures and approaches which could be easily introduced. Another example from another country, in Armenia, Elbat, the producers of accumulators, batteries. The company was our demonstration enterprise in Armenia with the previous program, the predecessor program of EU for Environment, EAP Green. But as a result of engagement in that program, this company is now a company which is results of which or processes of which are monitored under the EU for Environment. So we really had a privilege, thanks to EU for Environment, to look at which kind of measures were implemented since 2015-16, when the program was organized. We also have a series of different cases in Ukraine published as a part of monitoring exercise, which we had in Ukraine completed last year. You can find those business cases from those enterprises under the links provided on the screen. We also promote work with groups of enterprises. Yes, eco-industrial parks methodology is giving us a chance to look at the setting and park or co-located enterprises under one unit of management, which can promote efficient use of resources. But in a nutshell, we are coming back to those enterprises, individual residents of those parks, to look at their use of resources, how exactly they do that, and how they can contribute to make the parks, the locations in which they are present, more efficient and more user friendly in terms of also the city or settlements locations. The framework which we use as a part of EU for Environment has exactly different levels of engagement. We can work with park performance and management as such. We can work with environmental performance, social performance, and of course, money matters. We have economic performance also taken into consideration when we work with this methodology. Results, I can only have preliminary results on the screen from Moldova. There were two parks, one park Tracom and one free economic zone indicated and assessed using this methodology. So there were potential measures identified for the parks to become more efficient and greener, and the results which we plan to have at the end of this exercise, sometimes before the end of this year, will also show how exactly the enterprises are interconnecting with each other and how they make a collective effort of being greener and more resource efficient, more real. The other component I mentioned is circular economy introduction in the countries. And here we are looking at waste hierarchy, where prevention is at the heart of the methodology. We promote also recycling, repair, reuse, and all those approaches are bringing us to the circular economy concept and principles introduction in the countries. And here, the way we see the circular economy can be promoted, again, start with resource efficiency. So we showcase to the enterprises how exactly they can become partners or rather practitioners of the approaches which are promoted by circular economy methodology. So the next slide would be exactly about the waste maps, industrial waste maps, which we are promoting. Here again, we work with regions where enterprises, industrial enterprises are co-located, and we assess what are the use practices, what are the waste generation practices, and how can we work with those enterprises to make resources out of those wastes, redirecting the wastes from landfills and from becoming actually wastes. So examples from Georgia again, in Rustavi with quite a big region, we had identified what are the kind of wastes available there, and of course which part of it is coming from the industries located in that region. Here you can see that we focused on several waste streams with concrete enterprises looking at, in particular here, the paper and cardboard, and investigating how we can apply the waste hierarchy to make sure that the waste is at least recycled or at best prevented. The strategy for RECP implementation, which we have as a core of our approach, is fourfold. We not only demonstrate and domesticate the example of resource efficiency through particular enterprises and use of methodology at concrete premises, but we also scale up. And here we spoke about the clubs. We also promote the reward scheme. And here it's not only about financial reward. Yes, of course, enterprises are gaining financially and practically from applying this methodology, but it's also about being recognized as resource efficient and pioneers for a circular economy application. And of course, we are promoting embedding the resource efficiency into everyday practice in enterprises through all the activities I have explained before. Just to complete the picture, institutionalizing the use of the methodology is very important for us. And here I'm making a reference to the network which was created by, co-created by UNIDO and UNEP, where the projects like EU for Environment and other national projects were contributing in the lifetime or time span of 30 years to creating centers of knowledge, centers of understanding and methodology promotion, where enterprises could actually get that advice and with which the centers could consult. Enterprises could consult on how the resource efficiency could be improved at their concrete in their concrete case. And our goal in the UFO environment is to make such centers in the Eastern Partnership countries more equipped with the methodology, with practice, with knowledge, and known among the enterprises for their experience and for their knowledge, so that enterprises would know where to go and where to get this information. So here I see a very clear link between UFO environment and our network, where we see the national partners, and our national partners in each country are also supporting the network of enterprises and experts which are participating in the program, engaging those into the discussions and exchange of knowledge, so that the network can be used further to apply the methodology and create new business cases. I will stop here and return the control to Krzysztof to speak about the overall program in conclusion.
Yeah, thank you, Tatiana. Just to conclude is that more information about our work can be found in the brochure that is available from the website. And on the next slide, you will also see the links, necessary links to access the brochure. And certainly I would encourage everyone to sign up to our newsletter that every month provides information about our activities, including that on our support to greening SMEs. And before I hand over back to Andre, I would like to say that it's indeed a very good initiative that we managed to put together this seminar together with the Green Industry Platform, because we see the synergies and really win-win opportunities between our work in the region and then connecting those with the global network and the resource repository that you've been created through the self-assessment tool, and which is being built further. So certainly that's a great opportunity for this work, and certainly bringing in the expertise, sharing the expertise both ways from our region to the global network, and vice versa. That's a tremendous opportunity here to even accelerate the very good progress that has been done in the region. I have to say that, and again, praise our colleagues from governments and from enterprises, that there is really an opening, a great awareness of the benefits that can be brought by greening their operations, and cost savings that certainly is a very important factor in engagement of the managers and the policymakers from the region. So thank you very much. We'll be happy to answer any questions, provide additional information. Thank you.
Спасибо, Кшиштоф, спасибо, Татьяна. Программа Youth Environment предполагает создание национальных сообществ поддержки внедрения ресурсоэффективного чистого производства, ну и в то же время платформа зеленой промышленности разворачивает глобальную сеть iGo. И о поддержке проектов через сеть iGo и о самой сети я хотел бы попросить рассказать Ханнеса Макнауте. Еще раз, Ханнес, прошу вас.
Thank you very much, Andre. And yes, now I would like to just spend a little bit of time. I won't take too long because we want to have a good Q&A session as well. But I'll talk a little bit about the iGo network, because you got the introduction to the iGo Assistant as our interface with SMEs. You've seen how the EU for Environment is doing a lot of work on the ground. And now we want to talk about the iGo network and how it, one, supports obviously the iGo Assistant, but obviously then programs like EU for Environment. Who is the iGo network for? Let me just quickly mention that we have it designed for a wide range of organizations, from SME intermediaries, by that we mean literally programs like EU for Environment, to the RECP Center in the Ukraine, to NGOs, anybody supporting organizations as such. Business associations, very important in our network as well. Financial institutions, typically those that are like development banks, etc. And we also include what we call SME supply chain clients, typically large companies, national or multinational, that have SMEs in their supply chain. However, this is also catered for through a parallel project with UNIDO called the Industry Working Group that we co-manage through the Green Industry Platform. So this is our IGO network. And we basically say all of these are organizations that support SMEs or SME supporting organizations. Now, the key purpose of the IGO network is very simple. It is about supporting those that support SMEs. The reality is today there is a lot happening out there helping SMEs on resource efficiency or just engaging with them. And very often these happen on a national level or a programmatic level. And where we come in on the IGO network is how to make better use of what's already happening, how to help those that are helping SMEs, how to help country level projects access international connections, access international expertise, how to make sure that international projects can get down to national level, how to make sure that organizations can collaborate with each other. So really, the focus is supporting those that support SMEs. And I must say that the IGO network is an informal network. It's not about creating strong partnerships, etc. It is about network. It is about engaging with people and helping them engage with each other. Now, the basics of the IGO network. Well, like I mentioned at the very beginning, for us to make IGO work, and in particular the IGO Assistant, we need to be able to source all the relevant resource efficiency knowledge and support services that exist in a given country, region, or even globally. And for that, we need to contact organizations who supply this. And therefore, at the very basic level, the IGO network is about building up our database, getting the information from the people so we can promote their work. It's also about promoting the IGO Assistant to SMEs. This is quite important because, like I said, we can't promote IGO Assistant ourselves directly to an SME. We need to work through intermediaries. So the IGO network is very important there. But that's explaining the IGO network from our perspective, and honestly, perhaps in this kind of slightly selfish way. However, out of this, because we engage with all these different organizations for these two purposes, we're in a position to help these organizations share experiences between each other. And it's sharing between organizations and projects. Sometimes it can be a little bit different because EU for Environment is more like a project. The RECP Center in Ukraine is more like an organization. So by knowing who's doing what, by having engaged with them for our purposes, so to speak, we have a network that we can then help basically ensure that this kind of best practice experience sharing occurs. Importantly, we don't just want to get this whole exchange of information. We then want to be able to help organizations collaborate. That means how could organizations collaborate for a funding proposal? How could organizations collaborate to target a specific sector of SMEs and get information to them? So that's very important, this facilitation of collaboration. And importantly, facilitating collaboration between, for example, donors and implementing organizations, or multinationals that have a supply chain in a given country and that would like to work with an organization in that country to help their supply chain. So it's a lot about making connections between different types of organizations within our network. And then importantly, if we manage this best practice sharing, if we help collaborations, if importantly, we create connections with donors and the kind of multinational companies, we're going to get a much better understanding of what's available in terms of supports for SMEs, and importantly, what's missing. So these kind of knowledge and support service gaps. And because through the IGO Assistant, we're getting a good picture of, let's say, the status of SMEs in relation to specific resource efficiency actions. We're getting this picture of this is what's needed and this is what's available. And we see the gaps, and that helps us actually work with organizations to develop or even adapt knowledge products or support services to fill these gaps. So it's quite a broad remit to this network. And I actually want to give you a little kind of taste of what we mean by this connecting the dots and putting information together, and importantly, who's doing what. This is a project that we have not yet started, that we're proposing to do over the next 12 months, is how to map out the work that everybody is doing in terms of support services for SMEs. So everything I show you here is not real. It's just a mock-up that we are using to demonstrate how we want to particularly work. So for example, already through our IGO pilots, we're in a position to get an idea of what organizations are doing what for SMEs in specific actionable areas. So for example, across chemicals, materials, wastewater. And we hope to be in a position to, I'm using an example of Africa here, to really map this out quite accurately on a regional and country level. So for example, we'd like to be able to map out where the funding is going versus where are the projects happening in relation to energy, waste, water, materials, and chemicals. And we want to be able to map out who is behind those projects and funding. So for example, if I can give an example here, what we see is, we see, if I take UNIDO, we can map out where UNIDO is active. We could map out where UNEP is active. We can map out who's funding them. We can map out what type of initiative they're doing. What's the name? What are they providing? Are they in the same country, etc. And on a country level, we can then go into a lot more detail, and we can see, you know, what's the particular project focus? Is there a bigger emphasis on energy or water by a specific type of organization? Who is funding more in energy? Who is funding more in water? We get a very, very big, strong picture of what's happening, where, who's funding it. And this, compared then to our IGO assistant data, gives us this very good idea of the gaps, so to speak. Now, that's just to give you a taste of the kind of data we want to bring together to help the network. But in the meantime, we already have an infrastructure that supports the IGO network. One important infrastructure item is our Green Forum community space. This is essentially like LinkedIn, except it's a little bit, got a lot more functionalities for, let's say, private or let's say project-specific community spaces. This is a very important free-to-use solution that is available for anybody, but also is very good in supporting, let's say, network opportunities. We also have our Green Industry Platform, which provides a lot of exposure for organizations that are part of the IGO network. We, again, exist to promote the work of others. So the Green Industry Platform promotes other organizations' events, it promotes their resources, it promotes their blogs, you name it, we can promote it through the Green Industry Platform. We also are in a position to provide what we call mini website options. That means we can, if someone needs a web presence, if a fixed term project needs a web presence to have strong database functionality, event functionality, we can provide that as well. It's essentially a subset of our own platform that we give to another organization. And I'd actually like to very quickly show you an example. Our ECPNet, for example, is currently hosted through our mini website functionality. This is quite interesting because it means that they have a website presence, they have a knowledge database presence, they have an event presence, they can be hosted through us, for example. Now, we also have obviously the suite of IGO tools. I have shown you, you have seen the IGO Assistant, but we also have the future plans of the Implementation Manager, as well as that initiative mapping and analysis tool. Of course, our reach in terms of the IGO network is, like mentioned by Tatiana and Christoph, they work more on a kind of country and / regional level, but there's great opportunity to take the learnings of that project and share it with many other regions and countries around the globe. So the idea of the IGO network is really global, regional, and global, interconnecting everybody on that basis. And the idea is that ultimately the network approach should benefit everybody. From SMEs being able to access what they need to improve their business, to intermediaries like the EU for Environment program, donors, I mean, it's very important donors can get a much better picture, connected picture of what's happening, what the needs are, and that we can feed into them. Business associations are really, really key type of organization to engage with to reach those SMEs. The business case, we need to work more with the supply chain leaders. That means those national and international companies. And financial institutions are looking for a lot of this information that we bring together to be able to adapt their financing solutions. So again, all of these types of players and stakeholders are important to bring together and engage with. Now, what are the next steps for the IGO network in this particular region? Well, obviously, as a first step, we need to get IGO Assistant out to the SMEs so we get some data back on their needs. We'd love to hear from all of you in relation to any knowledge or support services you would like us to promote, both through the IGO Assistant and the Green Industry Platform. We're going to be in a position to provide a kind of a network infrastructure for the RECP experts of the EU for Environment program. That will be, I think, quite an important collaboration between the two of us. We'll also be having in autumn another IGO network regional workshop for the region, where we really bring together the learnings from the IGO Assistant data, as well as all the organizations we engage with between now and then on the IGO network, to see how we can connect the needs versus available supports and donor opportunities. So how can we kind of adapt the data we bring together to the network with donor opportunities? And obviously, things like the RECP clubs, we really want to share learnings from these and maybe even support the continuation or replication of those in the region. We'll also be doing a best practice resource efficiency training workshop series that will be in the second half of this year. How to take part in the IGO network? It's simple. Be interested in supporting SMEs to become more resource efficient. Be open to share your experiences. Send us your logo short description, and we will add you to the network and make sure you are involved. And here's the caveat. It's easy because it's not a formal agreement or partnership. So it's an informal network that we facilitate to help organizations like yours increase the impact of your support to SMEs. And with that, I will hand back to Andrei in the hope that I didn't take too much of our Q&A session.
Спасибо, Ханес. Да, у нас мы практически по графику, возможно, с 5-минутным отставанием, но я думаю, это очень неплохой результат. Спасибо всем спикерам. И сейчас мы переходим к самой интересной части нашего семинара. Это ответы на вопросы и обмен опытом. То есть мы будем действовать по сценарию, который уже оглашали. То есть вопросы, пожалуйста, ваши пишите в чате, или если у вас отзывы, вы можете поднять руку, и вам будет предоставлено слово. Неплохо было бы, если бы вы указали, кому именно указан этот вопрос. И также хочу отметить, что мы также хотели бы получить от вас обратную связь, и поэтому это вопрос ко всем участникам, возможно. Будет, как они видят эту ситуацию, будет ли IGO ассистент полезен им и, скорее, организациям, предприятиям, с которыми они работают, потому что у нас сегодня все-таки аудитория не самих предприятий больше, а тех организаций, которые работают с предприятиями. То есть, как, по вашему мнению, будет ли этот инструмент полезен предприятиям? И второй вопрос ко всем, это что бы вы хотели видеть от сети IGO, потому что много еще будет сделано, и прямо сейчас интересно услышать ваши отзывы об идее и что нужно добавить в эту сеть. Поэтому у нас будет такая сессия и ваших вопросов, и, соответственно, возможно, ваших комментариев об услышанном сегодня. Начнем по порядку. Сегодня я видел 2 вопроса в чате и вижу поднятую руку Светланы. Будем действовать по порядку. И первый вопрос был от Игоря Гончаренко, который подчеркнул, что после оценки логично было бы иметь и предлагать дополнительные финансовые и возможности технической поддержки предприятия. Да, этот вопрос очень логичный, и мы очень часто его слышим, люди, занимающиеся ресурсоэффективностью. Я хотел бы его поделить на 2 части, потому что под понятием оценка ресурсоэффективности мы сегодня слышали ту оценку, которую предлагает инструмент IGO Assistant. Это оценка такая базового уровня. И есть оценка, которую проводят эксперты, которую может нам представить Татьяна из EU for Environment. Поэтому сперва я бы хотел спросить Ханеса об финансовых возможностях и включении технического сопровождения после оценки ресурсоэффективности в инструменте IGO. Ханес?
Thank you, Andrei. And it is a very good question, because honestly, we never have enough technical assistance and financing solutions for all the SMEs that are out there with their need to go into resource efficiency. First of all, two things. IGO Assistant directs to what we can find as available financing solutions and technical assistance. Today, we do not still have everything that is available in the region. That much I'm sure of, because it's actually quite a big task to collect this for every country in a given region. And we have actually focused on 3 countries to begin with, that is Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan, to try and bring together what's available in those countries. However, we definitely want to bring more for other countries. So straight away, I would say, please, if you know of financing solutions, technical assistance programs that we should be including, please let us know. Now, the other thing that comes out of the IGO Assistant is information that will help us go back to donors and, let's say, larger programs to say, we need more financing solutions and technical assistance programs based on these specific needs that we have identified through the IGO Assistant. So I would say we direct to the existing ones when we can find them and when they're available. And most importantly, we identify what's missing to help develop new ones. So the IGO Assistant has quite a large mandate in that case. And of course, where possible, we definitely do direct to existing technical assistance like that offered through the EU for Environment program. So consider IGO Assistant a work in progress that will definitely be bringing more and more new financing solutions and technical assistance programs as we get the information to go back to donors and related organizations with.
Спасибо, Ханес. И тот же вопрос, возможно, к Татьяне. Татьяна, не могли бы вы рассказать об финансовых возможностях и технической поддержке после или во время оценки по методике ресурсоэффективного и чистого производства предприятий?
Да, спасибо, Андрей. Отвечу на русском языке. Вы так задали вопрос. Мы в рамках EU for Environment, к сожалению, не владеем грантовым компонентом, то есть непосредственно для реализации методов, которые мы предлагаем на предприятиях в результате оценки, средства для реализации не предоставляются. В то же время есть компонент поддержки бизнеса, который хотел бы озадачиться получением средств. Конечно же, наши меры, которые мы предлагаем, разнятся, их стоимость или затраты на них могут быть разными, и мы продвигаем и незатратные меры, и высокозатратные меры, все зависит от возможностей бизнеса. Так вот, для тех, кто хотел бы и заинтересован в получении заемных средств для применения методологии, могут получить также поддержку от нашей программы для разработки бизнес-плана с учетом тех затрат, которые такие меры требуют для своей реализации. В каждой стране у нас выделено 10 предприятий, 10 мест для предприятий для получения такой помощи. Таким образом, предприятие, получив технический отчет оценки, может дальше проработать его с специалистом по инвестициям и обратиться уже с готовым инвестиционным предложением в структуры финансовые для получения заемных средств. Спасибо.
Спасибо, Татьяна. Да, вопрос этот всегда, я думаю, становится во время внедрения ресурсоэффективности на предприятиях, но и всегда есть инициативы, которые его поддерживают. И вот, как сказал Ханес, тот же IGO-инструмент, он собирает информацию об таких инициативах и возможностях поддержки, которые предприятие может получить в конце оценки. К следующему вопросу также перейду от Юрия Гладенко. Перейду на английский, так как это был вопрос на английском. То есть, this question about what environmental resources do you propose for use in the green economy? And actually, it is kind of very specific question from Sumy region and from hemp processing and cultivation, but maybe we cannot provide a very specific answer in these conditions. But I would want just to generalize this question and ask Hannes how to find information as a green industry platform, actually a host of global knowledge database. So I'd like to ask Hannes how actually to find, information, what resources are environmental and how they can be used in green economy approach. Hannes.
Thank you, Andriy. And here, actually, what I will do is refer back to my very first presentation this morning, where I showed 3 tools from IGO: the SME Support Center, the IGO Assistant, and the Implementation Manager. And the SME Support Center is our big database that has everything in it. Now, I will admit that the IGO Assistant still will not get down to the level of information that is being requested here. So for the hemp in the sector, or the hemp processing sector, because that is a very detailed step to get into. However, all the information that could be of use to you would exist in the database, the SME Support Center. So if you go to our website, the Green Industry Platform, which the links have been put into the chat, you will find the SME Support Center straight away on the first page. And in that, you can search by these action areas that you saw already in the IGO Assistant: energy, water, waste, but also strategy. And within that, you can get into very detailed types of guidance and support services, whether it's technical guides on energy for the agricultural sector, for the processing sector, etc. So already what's available, you can definitely find probably something that's relevant to you and your sector through the SME Support Center. And again, it's what we've managed to bring together to date. What I would like to hear is, if you cannot find what you're looking for, let us know. And one of the things that we want to do is to find out what's missing. And then we already, through our network, can go out and make sure that we get that information into our database and then supply it to you. So if you don't find it in the SME Support Center, let us know, and we will make sure to get it for you.
Thank you, Hannes. Thank you, Hannes. Давайте перейдем дальше к поднятым рукам. И хочу пригласить к микрофону Светлану Берзину. Светлана.
Добрый день. Спасибо, Андрей, за возможность задать вопрос, участие в семинаре. Очень интересно. И у меня 2 вопроса на самом деле. Первый вопрос заключается в том, что может ли платформа IGO предоставить возможность организациям, которые занимаются поддержкой развития зеленого рынка, предоставлять информацию о своих услугах, о своей деятельности для того, чтобы расширять свою деятельность на глобальном, скажем, уровне и информировать об этих услугах. Я представляю организацию, которая занимается в Украине программой экологической маркировки 1-го типа. Это классический эко-лейбл, аналогичная программа реализуется при поддержке Еврокомиссии, это эко-лейбл EU. Есть программы европейские, азиатские, мы входим в глобальную сеть экологической маркировки, и для нас очень важно сотрудничество и продвижение информации о нашей деятельности, а также взаимодействие с организациями, которые занимаются внедрением технологии, наилучших технологий ресурсоэффективного и более чистого производства, поскольку мы постоянно пересматриваем критерии оценки, и мы ориентируемся на наилучшие показатели для разных категорий продукции, оценивается и сам продукт, и все стадии его жизненного цикла. То есть можем ли мы стать членами платформы, и предусматривается ли подобный формат сотрудничества?
Hannes, I think it's a question for you.
There's actually a lot of information to provide as a result of this question. It's a very good question, and it allows me to address a number of different points. The first one is about, let's say, accessing new markets based on, we'll call it green credentials, if I may put it this way. And I mentioned in my presentations, we are very keen to create a business case for resource efficiency by working with large companies that have SMEs in their supply chain. And this is very often multinational companies that might be EU-based or in other countries that are looking to get new suppliers or improve their suppliers in, let's say, supply chain type companies. We'll take, for example, the Ukraine. And what we want to do is we want to make that connection between SMEs that can to help them comply with the sustainability procurement criteria of large companies. And this is also interesting for the large companies to help the SMEs comply with their procurement criteria. And we've already had a number of discussions on this with large companies. So IGO Assistant can actually do one thing to start with. It can help, it can be used by a multinational to go to their supply chain and say to their supply chain, you need to now become more resource efficient. Use the IGO Assistant to find the support services to help you become more resource efficient. That's stage one. But it can also help new companies that want to access new markets see what they need to do to improve their resource efficiency and what they can access. So for example, an SME that knows nothing about the EU for Environment might discover that through the IGO Assistant and be able to avail of the supports through EU for Environment. So this is already the connections we make, both through our IGO network and the IGO Assistant. Labeling is very important. A lot of people ask about it. And this is where we're coming in with our Implementation Manager tool, which doesn't exist yet, but we're developing, because SMEs need a way to demonstrate their performance. How well have I done? And the Implementation Manager is being designed to help SMEs demonstrate how well they're performing, to be able to easily get labeling that they can then use to access, let's say, the supply chain of a company. So that is another aspect that we're getting involved in. And I say it's next step. And then the other one is, how can you join and be part of this? Well, please come and join the IGO network. We are quite open on this. Do send us information and you'll be welcome. Now, I want to use this opportunity to say that we actually do have another level of partnership with the Green Industry Platform overall. The IGO network is an informal network. It doesn't require an agreement. We do have another type of partnership, which is more restrictive. It's called a knowledge partner. And this is a knowledge partner of the Green Industry Platform. You must be an NGO and you must be there in a non-commercial situation, but that can be an official partnership with us where we help each other promote each other's work, so to speak. Now that is a more formal partnership. It's a little bit more complicated, but if that's of interest, that's also available. I haven't talked too much about it because it's a different thing really and more complicated, but if interested, that can also be an additional way to work with us and collaborate if you're an NGO without a commercial, let's say, objective. So please touch base, connect with us, and you can do this through Andre, and we will definitely be happy to have you on board and discuss all of this in more detail, because it's a very interesting topic that we want to support you on.
Спасибо, Ханес.
Благодарю. Да, Андрей, я еще два слова. Я хочу поблагодарить за ответ, акцентировать ваше внимание, что в чат я выложила информацию о нашем центре сертификации. Мы NGO, так же, как и Андрей, и являемся партнером UNEP по реализации компонента по устойчивым закупкам и развитию эколейбл в Украине в рамках For You Environmental. И я также пользуюсь случаем, поскольку я вижу на встрече представителей партнеров программы For You Environmental, предложить также наше сотрудничество. У нас открытые двери для стран, которые хотят развивать программы экологической маркировки, страны Восточного партнерства. Я знаю, что кроме Украины ни в одной стране, которая участвует в For You Environmental, пока что нету устойчивой программы экологической маркировки. Мы готовы делиться опытом, у нас хороший очень результат, аккредитация, международное признание. Спасибо, Андрей. Тоже мы партнеры, сотрудничаем с центром. Спасибо.
Спасибо, Светлана. Думаю, что этот вопрос уже будет, вторую часть будет в более личном контакте прорабатываться. Сейчас мы возвращаемся к теме все-таки семинара. У нас еще много рук и много вопросов, и не так много времени. И я видел вопрос от Галины Артюхиной по поводу, как стать партнером сети. Ханес уже ответил, и там, в принципе, на сайте iGov Solutions можно просто перейти по ссылке, заполнить форму и с вами свяжутся, или можете написать нам, наши контакты также будут в конце семинара представлены, и мы сможем скоординироваться с своим вопросом. Также я вижу предложение от Умеда Асланова. Я хотел бы также подчеркнуть, что эта панель не только для вопросов, но и для ваших предложений и вашей обратной связи. Пожалуйста, помогайте нам стать лучше. И вот Умед Асланов, он подчеркивает, что у него предложение описать кратко и лаконично о понятиях и структурах и разницы, возможно, между циркулярной экономикой, зеленой, замкнутой и так далее, потому что бизнес путается в этих понятиях. Он указывает регион Центральной Азии. Мы работаем больше в регионе Восточного партнерства, но мы можем сказать, что даже сейчас, когда первая программа циркулярной экономики, наверное, была EIP Green в 2014 году, начала внедряться, даже сейчас есть еще некоторая путаница у предприятий, что такое циркулярная экономика, и не все до конца воспринимается. Поэтому это приложение принято. Я думаю, что наши партнеры также будут работать над новыми проектами в этой сфере. Вижу вопрос от Александры Правдивой. Это есть ли примеры применения механизма зеленых облигаций для финансирования проектов по ресурсоэффективности? Я хотел бы вот буквально очень коротко на этом вопросе, возможно Татьяна или Ханнес, или может Кшиштоф, о примере использования зеленых облигаций для финансирования. Кто-то возьмет этот вопрос? Кшиштоф?
If I could, yes, indeed, certainly the element of financing is very important. I mean, when we talk about what we can do, what the enterprises can do, there is always a question of how to finance it. Well, there are some activities, some measures that could be done at zero or very low cost, but at a certain point, once they are done, then we're looking for upscaling those activities, looking for bigger chunks of money to finance them. And certainly in our work at the OECD, as part of the EU for Environment, we've been looking at different options of where to go to find finance for those measures. And certainly in our work, we've been focusing on several places where enterprises could go. So certainly there are, and then just for simplicity, we talk about the public funds and private funds, domestic funds and international funds, in very simplified form. In our work, we've been really putting emphasis a lot on trying to use money that is already available for SMEs through different channels for their business development. Not talking about green aspect, just for business and market development. And then been trying to inject some green conditions, some green issues into that funding. So once the funds are allocated by public agencies or private sources, that the environmental element is an important factor of distinguishing, of appraising the project and awarding money. We've been working with, as I mentioned, with ODIM, with the Business Association in Moldova, and with the SME Development Agency in Azerbaijan, trying to see how the support that is being provided by those agencies can be also bringing some more green elements. So that's an important part of trying to not to look for new sources, but rather how the existing sources could be better used. We've also been looking at how the capital market could be attracted by providing funds to those areas, and this specific issue of green bonds has become very fashionable, very hot topic being discussed at the globally and also in our region. And just as an advertisement, on 10th and 11th of June, OECD, as part of EU for Environment, will be organizing a workshop that will present the findings of our study on the promotion and use of green bonds in the region of Eastern Europe. So certainly I'll be happy to forward you an invitation to this workshop at which preliminary findings will be presented. And maybe last thing, certainly there is an opportunity. There is a lot of finance that is being provided by international resources by international banks. But certainly the challenge that we've seen in this context is there is money that available for large projects. If there is an SME that is coming for funding to an international bank, they say, we need 10,000, we need 15,000. The bank said, sorry, I mean, if you ask for 10 million, we will, but 10,000 is just too much of the administrative cost and procedural cost to do. So certainly that is something that we've been looking at, how to unlock the finance, the smaller scale finance that could be available to SMEs. Thank you.
Спасибо, Кшиштоф. Спасибо, Кшиштоф. Далее, здесь несколько поднятых рук, не так много времени, но буквально 3 последних, наверное, вопроса. Я видел поднятую руку от Георгия Абулашвили, извините. Если, Георг, ваш вопрос еще не ответили, вы можете поднять руку. And now I see a hand from Florian Zutter. Please ask your question or provide your comments. Florian?
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. So I'm working for the Food Packaging Forum based in Switzerland, and I'm working in a project that is called Understanding Packaging Scorecard that provides easy to use and easy accessible information about sustainable foodware and food packaging. So just share a link in the chat in case someone is interested. So first of all, thank you very much for these very interesting insights. I really like the easy access and as well as the informality of the network and the tool. I think that's one of the keys, which is really nice to bring this information together. So beside this IGO network, which I really like, I think the already mentioned SMI support center is one of the key elements of these initiatives. And as in our project, I think one of the important things, but also challenging things, of course, is the quality and the up-to-dateness of the information or the things that are provided in that. And would be interested to hear probably some more words on how you deal with that and how you assure that the information is kind of verified. Probably it does not need to be verified. So probably Hannes, I don't know if you are the right person to answer this question. Thank you.
Andrea, I'll jump in and answer it straight away.
Yeah.
It's a very important question. And one of the things is we actually have 2 databases. We have a much, much larger global database of all types of green growth related knowledge for every stakeholder in the world. And this is huge, like literally 10,000 plus resources. Our SME Support Center is only a database orientated towards SMEs with information that is relevant to SMEs. So it's in the hundreds, not the tens of thousands. And already that makes it easier for us to verify because we're very specific about what we include. By the type, we already only include technical guides that are really relevant technical guides for SMEs. We only include tools that are typically either online or very easily usable on Excel. So everything gets verified before it actually gets added to the SME Support Center. We have a strong focus on quality over quantity. So we actually exclude about at least 50% of the stuff we come across because it just isn't relevant, up to date, whatever it may be. So we try to keep the most up-to-date version. What we produce, what we promote through the IGO Assistant is always kind of what we consider the most best practice and most up-to-date version of a given type of resource. So for example, a global result for a technical guide on energy efficiency, there are 20, 30 of these guides. We try to pick the most relevant one that will cover for the most sectors and the most up-to-date. So already for the IGO Assistant, we do verification. So verification is very important to us. We're still new, so luckily in terms of updating, we're at the start of it because we're just launching, but we also have an updating function. Our entire database is being developed so that we can signal every 6 months, verify is this financing solution still available or not. So in particular for these kind of time-fixed supports and support services are the training solution, the technical assistance, the financing, they're always very time limited. And we have it tagged in our system that it's only for 6 months. Check it in 6 months. Is it still available? Is it being extended, etc.? So yes, if we promote it, it has to be relevant, it has to be up to date. Otherwise, SMEs are a very critical target audience, and they just want what they need given to them without any fuss. And if we wanted to succeed, updating is very important.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Hannes. Thank you, Florian, for the question. И, наверное, последний вопрос на сегодня. Мы, к сожалению, подходим к концу нашего времени. Это вам, пожалуйста, Татьяна Чирек.
Yes. Hello. I am one senior expert in greening program, national program. So we are implementing, and in the context of the financing sources, we are a program that we already financed many SMEs that procured some equipments, and we call it the lower scheme of financing. It's a lower sum of money, but the next step is a higher amount, and here becomes a problem for us because we need to evaluate what they already have done in the business and what they want to buy in order to get to the certification of eco-label. So here's my how to say, we are looking to find such a tool, as you said, that you want to improve this one at the moment and to have at the end a score, what they have done and how to, from this level, to go further. So actually we are looking for, yes, in the future.
Yes,
Yes.
I'll answer very quickly. This is the tool we're in the process of designing and developing, the implementation manager. And this is really interesting. We've had a lot of discussion with development banks because they support national banks with financing. And like Christoph said, it's very hard to get national banks to give small amounts to SMEs because they can't evaluate the projects. They don't make sense of it. It's very complicated. So a big part of this tool is actually to bring the right type of data to banks so they can evaluate resource efficiency projects and that those banks can get the right type of funding from the development banks. So that is exactly what you said. It's very important that we're aiming for is, obviously it's relevant for labeling, it's relevant for larger clients, but it's really relevant for financing and banks to get that information because they can come to the bank and say, I have done my IGO assistant, I have this basic resource efficiency status, but I have my implementation manager and I have done a proper score. It's a measurement, monitoring and verification approach. And here is my result. Here is the documentation where it was done by me or whether it was done by an independent auditor. And most importantly, this tool is global, which means it's a set procedure methodology for any type of SME in any country, in any sector. So it's not just a mishmash of different methodologies. It's a straightforward, simple performance methodology. It does not exist yet. We're in the process of designing it. It's a big project. It requires a lot of support from a lot of players, but it will be coming because it's needed and it will be your solution for the future.
Yes, that's great. And also regarding the tool, I see it very useful because we can recommend or to advise to the SMEs that are already selected in the UNIDO project from Moldova. So actually we will advise them to see at the moment what they have. So it's a very good one. Thank you so much for all your effort.
Thank you, Tatiana, for your question and for your feedback. And И тут я хотел бы поблагодарить всех спикеров за то, что они отвечали и старались отвечать на вопросы, ну и также всех участников семинара за активность и определенное время. У нас уже подведение итогам, и, как вы понимаете, это только первые шаги в развертывании инициативы IGO в нашем регионе, и она довольно гибкая прямо сейчас, поэтому мы можем иметь прямое влияние на развитие этой инициативы. И далее у нас будут другие проекты, мероприятия, включая расширение учета национальной специфики в инструментах. Со своей стороны могу сказать, что Центр ресурсоэффективного чистого производства будет инициативно помогать в адаптировании инструмента на украинский язык. Думаю, заинтересованные стороны в других странах также могут присоединиться к этой активности. Также у нас еще есть работа по идентификации и каталогизации знаний, национальных знаний по ресурсоэффективному чистому производству, поскольку в этом же инструменте IGO Assistant там знания представлены на 3 уровнях: глобальном, региональном и национальном. И, конечно же, для предприятий из страны важнее всего получить примеры, получить пособия, которые из этой страны, также финансовые инструменты. Поэтому впереди еще будет большая работа. Ну и это все темы для сотрудничества и для координации, в том числе и через сеть iGo, которую озвучил Ханнес. И вы можете связываться с нами по вопросам координации сетей, ее развертывания. Для Украины, Казахстана и Киргизстана вы можете связаться с Центром ресурсоэффективного чистого производства. Сейчас контакты будут в чате. В других странах наши партнеры из Youth Environment будут координировать или начинать координировать этот процесс. Это и в Армении, и в Азербайджане, и в Грузии, и в Молдове. Их контакты также будут в чате, поэтому вы можете связываться и с ними, и напрямую с центром. Ну, а мы будем дальше коммуницировать с Ханнесом и другими заинтересованными сторонами в этом вопросе. Еще бы хотел сказать в заключение, что мы хотели бы попросить вас оценить качество проведения мероприятия по ссылке в чате. Пожалуйста, оставляйте ваши отзывы. Это поможет нам улучшить наши последующие мероприятия. Ну и также всем зарегистрированным участникам будут направлены информационные материалы сегодняшнего мероприятия. В конце в чате очень много сообщений, но не могу на них, наверное, все отреагировать. Мы уже заканчиваем. Единственное, я бы хотел вас попросить также включить свои камеры, чтобы сделать красивое фото в конце семинара. И еще раз со своей стороны и со стороны организаторов этого мероприятия, которое было проведено платформой зеленой промышленности и программой Европейский союз для окружающей среды. Всех поблагодарить участников и следите за нашими следующими семинарами. Спокойного вам всем и хорошего дня. И до свидания. Спасибо, если включите камеру и помашите нам. Хорошо. Всем хорошего дня и до свидания.
Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Остаемся на связи, и будут вопросы, обязательно обращайтесь.
Bye, thank you.
Hannes, I think it's time to close. Could you close it?